Welcome to Combos from the Couch by LifeStance Health, where leading mental health professionals help guide you on your journey to a healthier, more fulfilling life. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Combos from the Couch. I'm Nicolette Lianza, and joining me today is LifeStance therapist Katie Fasilius. And we'll be talking about the healing power of the therapeutic relationship. So great to have you on, Katie.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me.
Some therapists often just focus on therapy techniques when working with their clients. But research shows that the relationship between the therapist and client is actually the strongest predictor of successful outcomes for therapy. It's the foundation of trust and safety that creates the space where real healing happens. So, Katie, I'm really looking forward to our conversation today as we focus on what makes the therapeutic connection so powerful. So, thank you again for being on. Tell us a
Yeah,
little bit
thank you
about,
so much.
yes, thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to become a therapist.
My name's Katie. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a licensed addictions counselor. I also have a master's in theology, which is not applicable. It's neither here nor there. I'm originally from Ohio. I
Mhm.
would say the reason why I became a therapist or a social worker is that at an early age, I was really exposed to the great disparities of our society. And for me, that took place in food kitchens, in the basements of churches in Cleveland, starting about when I was in eighth grade. My mom would take me, and I remember the rooms where we set up for dinner was dark and dingy. But as we handed out these plates of food, I was thinking how kind and grateful these people were, and always took extra time to talk to me and get to know who I was. And I just felt really connected. And I don't think the gravity of that hit me at that time, but over the years, it led to what I feel like was a calling to walk with people in the unhoused community. So
Mm,
after a degree in psychology and a master's in social work, community mental health just made so much sense. And
mm.
I thoroughly enjoy the work for over 20 years. And I never envisioned myself in private practice, but I began to have this desire to have a deeper and longer term clinical relationship with people. And that's what really led me to LifeStance.
Wow. I love the fact that you really do emphasize that therapeutic relationship and coming out of working with unhoused people, that that importance of just relationship, because oftentimes they obviously probably don't feel connected to others or society even.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
So,
true. So true.
so how would you define the therapeutic relationship and why is it considered such a critical factor in a client's healing process?
I feel like I might double dip a little bit here on what you said in the beginning, but for me, the therapeutic relationship is just the process of what goes on in the room between the client and the therapist. Like, and why I think it's so important is, like you were saying, scientific evidence really continues to point to the fact that the therapeutic alliance is the fundamental key that brings the healing nature to psychotherapy. And study after study has shown, and I'll quote from the APA, that the therapy relationship makes substantial and consistent contributions to psychotherapy outcomes, independent of the specific type of treatment, and that the therapy relationship accounts for why clients improve or fail to improve at least as much as the particular treatment methods. In my
Mhm.
opinion, the insight gained from the relationship can heal those attachment wounds and allow for real world skills to be built in the room and then applied in real life.
I agree. It's making me think. I teach courses in clinical counseling for a local university here in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, teaching the graduate students, they'll get caught up in the specifics of the therapeutic methods or techniques. And I do have to remind them, bringing it back to it's about the relationship you have with that client. I think
Mhm.
sometimes we can forget that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can forget it. I think it can be scary,
Yeah. Yeah.
to consider just yourself and the client in the room, and I think, like, I allude to that more as we'll keep
Mhm.
talking. I remember as an intern at the VA, we had to do specifically reflective listening and only reflective listening.
Mm,
And here I am, a 25-year-old young woman with men who are in Vietnam and older wars. And I'm doing this using purely the relationship and the tears and the
yeah.
emotion that was evoked just really led me to see, wow, this is like such a powerful tool. It was really like the turning point for me.
Yeah. My gosh, I bet. Uh, Can you explain what unconditional positive regard means in therapy and how do you cultivate it with your clients?
Yeah, like unconditional positive regard in the room to me can simply be I see you, I hear you, I validate you right where you're at. Like it's for me, it's not about worksheets or skill building or
Mhm.
like a strict methodology. It's like it's in the noticing, in the spaces, like the in between. It's what's going on like in the here and now and accepting and acknowledging your client in the present moment. They have a smirk or a head tilt or are their eyes starting to well with tears? It's when we can stop and speak into that humanness, right? Like,
Mm.
what's happening right there? Tell me more about that. I feel like that's the good stuff. And one thing I love from Terry Real, he's a relational life therapist. He's the founder of relational life therapy. He says, if those tears could talk, what would they be saying?
Oh, that's great. Wow.
And I think that's so beautiful. Sometimes it throws clients off a little bit. What do you mean? What would my
Mm.
tears be saying? But they usually come around to
Yeah.
think, what is this saying? So in this way, I feel like the noticing and the attention to presence is where the healing is happening in the context of the relationship. And like I said before, the restructuring of the attachment bonds in the moment hopefully can bring the skills and the knowledge for the client to use in their relationships in real life, right?
That for it to transfer over, right? For them to
Yeah,
be able to
yeah,
carry that over. Yeah.
yeah.
So, in your experience, how do empathy, authenticity, and trust contribute to building a strong therapeutic alliance? And can you give us some practical ways you foster these qualities in your sessions?
Yeah, empathy, authenticity, and trust, I think, are the building blocks of the unconditional positive regard. Empathy provides a sense of like being understood and validated and supported, and authenticity can provide trust and deeper connections. And trust is just to me like the vessel that holds the space for
Mhm.
safety, like allowing the clients to open up without fear of judgment. And in looking at this application through a humanistic or a person-centered lens, it reminds me of Rogers and what he
Yeah.
says about therapeutic what he says about the therapeutic relationship is that when people experience themselves as unacceptable, they're immobilized and unable to change. But paradoxically, when people experience unconditional acceptance of themselves, be it from their parents or a loved one or a therapist,
Mm.
that's when they're able to change. So it's in this experience of non-judgmental acceptance is where like the healing is. Yeah.
And I want to add for those who might not be familiar with Rogers, we're referring to Carl Rogers,
Yes.
who is the cornerstone. Again, bringing it back to maybe graduate programs or being interns or practicum students. That's the method you're learning. I would hope at the core of it is the unconditional positive regard. It's those Rogerian terms that really help build the premise of that therapeutic relationship. So you're a big fan, as am I, of Carl Rogers for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like that is like that right there. Carl Rogers is the foundation. Then you can go from there if you do cognitive behavioral or dialectical behavioral. You can go from there, but you gotta have that Rogerian approach, in my opinion. I'm sure you agree with that as well,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, I always tell people I was like raised up in that Rogerian base, and I think that it's always stuck with me. And to watch him, as I'll maybe recommend later, is an art form for sure.
Oh, yeah.
What he does. So I think you asked me like what it looks like in the room.
Yes. Yeah.
In the room, I think it boils down to me like that saying it's simple but not easy. So in essence, like I use the relationship as the healing tool, right? Like it
Mhm.
requires attunement, it requires risk,
Yeah.
and it requires, I don't know if this is a word, but like a stick to itness.
That
You gotta
works.
like
Yeah.
stick, hang in there
Yeah.
using like reflection. I feel like I want to foster self-awareness, facilitate emotional processing, and attend also to like issues that are coming up in real time that are from the client's past. And as an example of kind of that stick to itness, like I recently went to a seminar where the teacher of the seminar did like a real play where someone from the audience came up and they did like a enactment right on the stage. And the way she stuck with the client, quote unquote, it was my jaw was
Wow.
drop,
Yeah.
right? I was like breathless. And so after the session, I went up and approached her and I was like, how did you make that look so easy? And she was like, look at me. I'm sweating.
Oh,
My
wow.
heart is racing. I was in it and it was work. And that just really validated the
Mm.
humanistic approach for me that it's not always easy,
Right,
but it's about
right.
like the movement and flow with the person's story. And while that can take hard work, it yields,
Mm.
I think, very rewarding results. I'm also aware that this might not be a good fit for all clients.
Well,
I had a client approach me and ask me for more bells and whistles. And I had to laugh. And I told him, I was like, look, if you want something more cutting edge than the relationship, we might have to find you a new therapist. But in the end, we worked it out.
good, good. Which then brings it back to that relationship. You guys figured it out, you worked on it together, and it
Yeah,
worked out. Yeah.
totally, totally.
So, are there any common misconceptions about the therapeutic relationship? And if so, what do you wish more people understood about the healing power of this connection?
Well, I don't even like being that I'm in my 50s, right? And I've been around for a while. I don't know if this is a misconception, but I believe that there can be this misconception that as therapists, we can't be human in the room. I'm
Mm,
not sure where like newly trained practitioners stand on self-disclosure. We know like well-regarded veteran therapists such as Carl Rogers and Irvin Yalom highly encouraged like what they termed as like judicious self-disclosure, right? Rogers used it to foster genuineness, and Yalom saw it as a crucial element in building strong therapeutic relationships. He was very transparent with a lot of his self-disclosure. And I don't think we need to be afraid of sharing our humanity.
mm,
I just really think self-disclosure brings in what has moved us as
yeah,
we move through session. And how are we impacted? What are we noticing? Do we feel rage? Are we tearing
right,
up?
right.
Like we tear up.
Yeah.
Do we feel stuck? Do we need to tell our client, "Hey, I'm feeling really stuck right now." Like, how does that land with you? I think these can all be wonderful fodder for discussion, ways we bring
Hmm.
ourselves into the room. So I think taking more risks in this area creates a strong sense of connection while deepening that therapeutic space for an honest exploration of the patient's sense of self. My wish would be that, like, that I would feel comfortable using my interpersonal reactions and reflections as a guide and not be afraid to take therapeutic chances. And I'm
Hmm.
sure that's something a lot of us aim for.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Any other insights you'd like to share?
Like we were talking about in the middle, for anyone who hasn't seen it, I would invite listeners to watch Carl Rogers' work with Gloria.
Oh,
It's
yes, the if I might just add a bit, so the Gloria tapes, I mean, they're
yes.
very old. Do you wanna talk a little bit more about this, set
No,
it up
go
so people
ahead. Go
understand?
yeah,
Is
go
that
ahead.
okay? Was that in the late '60s? How when was that? '50s,
I
'60s?
somewhere in that era, yeah.
Around that area. There was a woman by the name of Gloria who uh, she was recorded with 3 predominant therapists at the time. One was Carl Rogers, one was Fritz Perl, and
Yeah.
then was it hold on, don't it not back oh, don't tell me. Okay, tell me, who is the other one?
Now I don't remember who the other one
Oh my
is.
gosh. It was a rational emotive behavioral therapy guy. Who did REBT? Ellis, Albert Ellis.
Alice,
I believe.
yes.
So 3 very different approaches, but in that so this is what we tend to show in graduate programs, at least I know I will in my course, but, the Gloria, who was just like, I think, a divorced woman at the time, which then was a big deal to be divorced and just sharing some of her own concerns of what she was navigating. She seemed like she connected the most with Carl Rogers. Is that
Yeah.
your memory as well?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've also shown it in classes that I've taught,
Yeah.
to chaplains,
Got
as a way to teach reflective listening. So, yeah, I think it's yeah, but I remember the interesting part with Gloria and Carl Rogers is too, to me, the point where she says she just wants him to give her the answers,
Yes.
and he
Yes.
reflects back like, "Yeah, I can see that you want me to give you the answers," and she, I don't know, blurts out, "But I know I have to come up with the answers on my own," and so a lot of
Mm,
that rings true a lot, I think. People want
yes.
they, like, want that feedback, and you're wanting them to come to their own conclusions.
Yeah. I think for someone who's maybe never been in therapy before and they're just coming in, they might have that misconception of thinking like the therapist is going to tell me what to do. And then, especially with the Rogerian approach, it's helping them come to what they need to learn and understand. It's not showing it or telling it to them. So I think
Yeah.
the Gloria example is a good example of that for sure. My
Yeah, it's fun
gosh.
to watch. I'd also say read Irvin Yalom's book, The Gift of Therapy, like, to me, 2 oldies but goodies.
Mhm.
I think all Yalom's books are worth it, but I'm also a big fan, so, yeah. I think
Right.
those are really good ways to learn about not only the therapeutic relationship, but how we can use ourself in the process.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Katie, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. We're both coming from the same angle, knowing how
Yeah.
important this therapeutic relationship is. So appreciate you so much. Love to have you back on.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I'd also like to thank the team behind the podcast, Jason Clayton and Juliana Whitten. Thank you for listening to Convos from the Couch. Take care, everyone.